Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And a wonderful morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And what a result. And we've got two gentlemen here who will help us to have a form of post-mortem. But before that, I must remind you that today is, the days are getting closer. Today is Monday, the 12th of February, 2018. But there's something very significant about that. And that is that on the 15th of February, the time runs out for Arjuna Mahendran, former Governor of Central Bank, to present himself before Sri Lanka's police for questioning. On that note, let me introduce our guest this morning. It's my immediate left is Mr. Rusripala Tenakon, and on my far left there is Mr. Hemanta Warnakulasuri, that absolutely senior legal man. Very good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Now then, who should we start with? Should we start with you, Mr. Rusripala? What has happened? The papers are full of it. SLPP gains majority local government bodies. UNP retains 37, including the Colombo municipality. SLPP cruises to a resounding victory, and MR wins, according to the Ceylon today. How can MR win? He's not even a member of that party. Anyway, what do you say about the results?
Yes. I think the results, it is too early for me to give a very statistical comparison.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we can't just give conjectures in this. We have to know the exact voting pattern and the numbers that are voted.
Yeah.
So I would rather, with the available information,
Yeah.
I don't think that there is any gain for Mahinda Rajapaksa personally in this election.
Because
you know, in the presidential election, January 8th presidential election,
yeah.
6 million voted for the common candidate. 6.1 million.
Right.
And that was 51.28% of the vote.
Right.
And for Mahinda Rajapaksa, 5.7 million voted.
Okay.
That was a percentage of 47.58.
Okay.
So now, and don't forget that the presidential candidate who won only 12 districts, and Mahinda Rajapaksa won 10 districts.
Okay.
Right. So that was the position in this country before this government started.
Yeah.
And today we have the results of the averages, national averages. I mean, we have worked out very in a crude format with the available information.
Yes, yes.
There is a swing for us, I don't know whether you will agree, against the UNP.
Okay.
14.46%. 14.46% swing against the UNP.
Okay.
And there is a swing in favor of the entire, this is the SLFP that is divided, no?
Yes.
Either Potu or Ata or Bulat Kole, all this is SLFP voters.
Yeah.
You know, there is a swing in their favor of 14.92. For me, I will later tell you my own analysis of the reasoning and what I think of this result. It's a different.
So talk about this the swing.
Yeah.
One's 14.46 and one's 14.92.
Yes. Yes.
Which means that
MR. Which means it is not the MR factor that is reflecting here. It is the dissatisfaction against the UNP wing of the government. So it's
a clear message to the President that, look, we don't like your partner.
Exactly.
Do you agree, Mr. Warnakulasuri?
I agree 100%.
Right.
From the time Mr. Sirisena Kure, after the death of Premadasa, brought Ranil
President Ranasinghe
Premadasa brought Ranil Wickramasinghe from Biyagama, put him into Colombo Central, and then gave his seat. And the first step he was against Mr. Sirisena Kure, who was responsible for him making the Prime Minister. From that day onwards, this country has been governed, the UNP, United National Party, the biggest, the strongest party in this country, where I personally say I was a staunch UNPer, has been degraded by this one man, Ranil Wickremesinghe. And this is the 30th defeat. And then if we, whether, I mean, this is, I don't say this is swing against the UNP. There I said it's a swing against the henchmen, the group, the inner cabinet of Ranil's, with the Sinhala called Gajamituro, incomparable friends. That is the group that are defeated.
Who are these incomparable friends?
I mean, everybody knows Mr. Malik Samarvikrama, Mr. Sagala Ratnayaka, and few others.
Who else?
I mean, I don't have to mention all those names, but they are the people who has taken policy decisions, taken various decisions on behalf of the government. Now, take for instance Mr. Ratwat, he is a good friend, right? When in that very short government of UNP, we went and told the Prime Minister, sir, impeach Chandrika, otherwise you will fall into difficulty. He disregarded us, our claim. And what happened was that Chandrika herself threw Ranil Wickremesinghe out. And then there also, it was Ratwatte, Charada Ratwatte, who did prevent a single UMPer from getting a job. Only person who defied that order was Mr. Mahinda Wijayasekara from Devanura. He disregarded and gave jobs to people in his electorate, and he is the only person who won.
Right.
So my position is this person cannot govern a country. He cannot govern. He may be able to govern the Mustang's tent, but Royal Tomian, but he cannot govern the country. And people, I am very grateful to the people. They have shown in no uncertain terms, we don't want you. You are not a national leader. What do you expect for us at the last moment? Like the time he said bracelets and various things, he said we are going to give Wi-Fi to the people. People are starving. When they go to the school they faint without a proper meal. They can't buy a coconut. Here this man goes and we are going to give Wi-Fi. So that is his ethos.
It was a bit like the promise he said that he would give chewing gum and denim.
Yeah, chewing gum and bracelets. I mean, he's alienated from the people, the suffering of the people,
right.
The majority of the people. He's living in another world of his own.
But Mr. Rusipala, you are the man with the figures. That's why you're a banker, right? Now then, tell me, isn't it possible? And some people say this as well. Yesterday they were talking about it. It's like the SLFP under the leadership of President Sirisena has rid itself of the bad elements, and it's small. It's worth 15% of the vote, but it's small and beautiful because it reflects the people's desire about this anti-corruption and good governance and all that. Can you not view it that way as well?
For us, I will rather look at it in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
For this reason, it is not the SLFP or the Maitri wing of the SLFP that matters here.
Yeah.
The people have concentrated and they have virtually given their support and their vote for a formation of a national government, and then to eradicate corruption.
Which has failed miserably.
Eradicate corruption. I don't say it has failed miserably.
Right.
It is not the eradication of corruption that has failed. You know, there is another role which we have to understand very clearly. The people came to know very clearly about the Bond saga.
Yeah.
They know that who is convicted, who is evading conviction, who is trying to suppress issues. People made a very careful assessment. They reflected that position in the vote. But for the people to know who are the others who are involved in corruption, the government did not play its role properly.
That's right.
The government did not play its role properly. There are so many bundles and volumes of commissioned reports lying in cupboards. What is the use?
Now this is a point, I know it's a sore point with Mr. Vanakula Surya, so we'll place it right with him. Now then,
oh, the absolute lie that is. I'm very sorry to say, most media people are asking President Sirisena asking the government, I mean, how you expect... You know, this is an absolute myth. Just imagine the number of people who have been indicted from Lalit Veeratunga, who have been convicted fairly or unfairly, nothing another matter. Every single important member of the SLP government, Mahinda Rajapaksa government, who was known to be corrupt, have been charged. But then do you expect, like in Maldives, to arrest them and remand them, like in Bangladesh, remand your political opponents, like Mahinda Rajapaksa crime.
But in Bangladesh, we have the former Prime Minister serving a 5-year prison sentence.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, you know, what
so where that doesn't happen here?
No, it doesn't happen here because we are a democratic country. Bangladesh had a small number of judges and decided on a separate bill and just sentenced them. And there is no appeal. I mean, I don't subscribe that we should follow that kind of attitude. Now, for instance, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa did the same thing. What he brought, he took this Sarath Fonseca and produced him before court, and then the judges convicted him because the judges knew that.
So that was a complete kangaroo court.
We have always resisted that. These people will take time, but they will be prosecuted. If there are no charges, they will be discharged. So this whole question of Horuvelvena is a shame because President Maithripala Sirisena has done everything possible, everything within his means, everything what he can do under this setup. Because the setup is we are not voted for a dictatorship, we are voted for a democratic institution. So therefore I feel sorry for what he had done. Even the commission, do you think that this has ever happened in Sri Lanka? Do you think that any government has appointed a commission to inquire into its own misdeeds? No. Now a second commission is also being appointed. But then the commission report has to come, they have to be evaluated.
What happened to Butland Commission?
Butland Commission, that is, you must ask from Chandrika. Those are commissions that were appointed by Chandrika in order to defame the UNP. Right, and then Butland Commission are thrown out.
So they were not in the national interest.
I mean, these are commissions that be appointed. They are appointed commissions to deprive civil rights. Now, do you agree with the deprivation of civil rights of Mr. Bandaranaike? He appointed a special President's Commission with special purity powers,
right.
And when the Supreme Court held that they can't,
so you say
I think the government has done within the framework of good governance, within the framework of rule of law. The government has done everything, but people don't understand, and I don't subscribe.
Well, the people don't understand because the politicians
don't understand. The media doesn't understand. No one understands.
Oh,
if I'm a lawyer, I understand. They have done everything possible to bring anybody who is...
The media understands one thing very perfectly, and let me put that in perspective for you. The media understands that what we've got is a bunch of rogues who are trying to rule this country.
Yeah, absolutely true.
And the people
have voted for the bunch of rogues also.
Yes, so the people, as Mr. Rusipala says, the people have expressed very clearly that they do not like the UNP component in this coalition government.
Was voted out not only because of incompetence. I mean, I don't think there was ever incompetence.
I think you're being very diplomatic this morning. I don't know about incompetence. It's complete and utter fraud. Described by the Attorney General's Department, no less, as the largest fraud ever inflicted upon the people of independent Sri Lanka. Mr. Rusipala, now what do you have to say?
For us, I think what we saw in the result of the last election, this is the local government election, and the local governments were dissolved on the 15th of May 2015. When the local governments were dissolved, Faraz, 230 of them were being held by the same party or the same leadership that was being held at that time. So even today. So now, what I don't see a very big change as people tend to make it out. What I say here is, my analysis goes a little deeper. You know, this is a vote against established corrupt practices. You know, established. What is established? They have clearly voted them out. And they have also given a vote to say that the UNP leadership has failed to deliver what they wanted them to do. Because, don't forget, The UNP, which was only 60 seats in parliament before the last general election, they got 106. They gained by coming into this coalition. What happened to the SLFP and the UPFA? 144 reduced to 95. They lost. So now they have failed to retain what they have gained. Totally. This is the aspect that you have to look into.
So what do the people, what do the party members of the United National Party
I
do?
believe the United National Party, like now, if the SLFP and the Podujana Party does not merge, SLFP will die away, it will wither away. Similarly, if the UNP membership do not take a strong stand and elect a young leader who will be in a position to lead the party, I am so sorry that we as former UNPers and people who love this party will face a chaotic situation, because this man Ranil Wickremesinghe does not understand politics. He only understands.
There are a lot of people.
Can I summarize something like this, Faraz?
Yes, just
it is an acceptance by the people of the president what he expressed as his difficulties to carry on this government. He openly said, I can't carry on with these people. It is an accept. Second one, it is an acceptance of the president's proclamation that there are rogues within his ruling, within his party. Then it is also an acceptance against the unholy alliance by the people. So therefore, it does not mean.
So why can't he then exercise his executive powers?
The problem is, with the 19th Amendment, he has become a rudderless ship. He have become. All the power have been removed.
But he can change the Prime Minister.
That I hope he will do that.
No.
As long as D.M. Jayaratne was appointed Prime Minister, Ranil Wickremesinghe appointed Prime Minister when he did not have the mandate. He just appointed him, and everybody accepted.
But that was under the different
previous. Under the present constitution, there are so many safeguards. But I still feel he must take a decision and then appoint another Prime Minister. Because the initial fault came, as Mr. Sirpala said, from the time this coalition was formed, the UNP was striving to destabilize Maithripala Sirisena. He was not permitting him to work. And then when he said, I learned this from the press, which is absolutely true, but certain things, even the last incident where some person recalled, the Prime Minister, the President, and the person appointing authority did not know that that brigadier was recalled. So and then you must understand, Faraz, from the very beginning, from the very first day, from the time they were elected, they started their unofficial organ of the UNP, the Lanka News, started attacking the president mercilessly. And then everybody knew that the UNP was behind this.
Now then, I want to say this to you. Raj Ratnam, the guy, the rogue trader, if you like, insider, the king of inside trading in modern times. He was investigated and done and dusted with inside of 8 months. Now, so much for your claim that everything is being done and the media is getting it wrong and so on.
No, that is in the state. That is in the state. What are the laws in the states?
It's taken the Attorney General's Department, with all due respect, over a month.
Attorney General's Department is understaffed. I'm saying, Attorney General's Department is doing everything possible. You can't convict people like in the States, like in Malaysia, or like in
in Malaysia, I don't know about that. The Prime Minister of Malaysia has had over $1 billion, with a B, $1 billion flowing in and out of his private.
Faraz, can I intervene for a second? Besides the practical difficulties my learned friend is talking about, it's true, there are certain difficulties for you to proceed. You can't be another Bangladesh here. But there is also another element of interference. That is the element that this country is trying to do away with.
And one of the one of the principal
that I agree. There was interference. There was allegations against the UNP, against the leadership of the UNP. It interfered with the Aegis department. I personally feel Aegis department. Now there I agree. With Mr. Dipala. Look at what happened in the Bond Commission. Even today, though only 5 or 6 people have been named and brought before court, and then what about the major investigations that can be carried out of the person who was behind this whole scam?
Yes, the
whole country knows who is behind this, and then no investigation. Why? The Dappula Rivera, the person who did the exemplary job, has been taken out. Jasanta Kodakoda is also been taken out, though they are just there. So therefore, it's very important.
Yes, but what about the mastermind? Tell me about the mastermind.
The mastermind.
Who is the mastermind?
I mean, money was not correct from Arjuna Mahendran. I don't subscribe to that. The person right from the beginning, I have been telling this over and over again.
Who is
Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe from the beginning, how he acted, there are a lot of suspicions. I know with mastermind is, but then that must be investigated. It must be investigated properly, correctly. And the Aegis department is now still, and the president cannot do anything. He can't remove the Aegis. Can he remove the Aegis? He can't do that.
Let me put it like this. The UNP controls all the major ministries. Finance, foreign, internal, trade, the police, and so on.
For us, we in the media, we were very clear in our statements and proclamations that whatever the legal position is, the social justice will prevail. And what we are seeing today is that the people have expressed, they are given their judgment against the convictors, the people who have got involved in
And I think the underlying message here also is that the SLFP has emerged with its 15%, yes, but that 15% is pure, as in it's a clean party.
This is a very good lesson for the SLFP, which never thought of establishing itself as an individual separate party all these years. They just allowed things to happen. They faced an election without a proper organization. The elections were declared by the minister, and soon after they started holding interviews. The party, I do not think, was in that form organized to face the election.
You understand, the SLFP, Maitripala Sirisena based eroded by the UNP. Look at the media. Mr. Faraz, look at the media, look at the government media. They were not in favor of Maitripala. They were holding two lights, one for Maitripala and more glowing light for Ranil Wickramasinghe. And what happened? The whole the question of his action was completely taken away by the media, and he had no control. I will tell you one thing. I met recently a police officer. He was, when this election result, he was in tears. Senior police officer. He told me, I have right throughout voted for Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa. But after Maitripala Sirisena came in, I knew what a different man he was. He told, even when there are protests, he told us privately, please do not use violence. So that is the type of person. But then who is projecting that?
But I would
who is projecting that? I'm asking you. Nobody.
But I want to say this. We say all this, but some people are a bit shocked because they say, have the people voted for corruption? Is that what's happened here?
A very precise question for us. This is exactly what I was thinking just now. I am not permitted to ask you questions, but can I ask you a question with your permission? Do you think that the people in this country who voted the total regime out to do away with corruption have now come to the conclusion that we don't want good governance?
No, I think people are believing that whilst they promised to have accountability,
so that means
they didn't.
That means what does that conclude? They still want to go ahead for good governance. And do you think that the people want to leave the good governance role with the person who was already convicted?
That's the question.
What is the question? Nobody will believe that. This is a temporary protest vote. That is what it concludes. People don't want to leave their fate or the expectation to do away with corruption in the hands of people who have been convicted.
And whose hands are dirty.
My position for a
simple truth.
Yes.
Simple truth. When we take strike action, I'm a trade union man.
Yeah.
When we take trade union action,
Yeah.
that's not against the institution.
Right.
That's a temporary trade union action as a protest.
Yeah.
This is a protest. This protest vote has to be taken in that perspective by the people in power. Eliminate the corrupt people. Go ahead for a national government. Bring the people together, the good people, and then carry on.
Yes. Now then, many questions here, but
May I differ with my
yes,
friend?
please do. You've got a minute.
I don't agree that this country, the people have voted for Mahinda Rajapaksa to bring back corruption. People of this country has a culture. From that culture of protecting the corrupt, because they themselves are corrupt. The people, I'm telling you, the people are themselves corrupt. I can't
agree with you.
I will tell you a classic example. When Monna Kulama was convicted of bribery, right, convicted of bribery, but his civil rights could not be removed. Then when he contested Kurunagala's seat, when Sirima Bandaranaga, supposed a very clean lady, gave nominations. What was the slogan? Game hora apita honda, game hora apita honda, ape hora gamata honda, and he won. And then take the judge of the regime, Andrew Daniel, who got caught having smuggled gold into this country, contested, and the entire JVP campaign was against the UMP, against this man. But he won. So therefore, even all of the people, C.S. Marikara,
one person says here, because you finished your minute.
Yeah,
one person
position is, unfortunately, there is an unfortunate culture in this country. It is true that the people rallied round against MR and voted for the government. Then when they have found that, this government, the biggest scandal was by the UNP, and then they decided, between the two, the lesser evil is better.
Look, there's loads of questions, but one of them, I'm going to say it because it offers a slightly different perspective. And it says here, how sad that you guys just cannot interpret the decision of the people and accept it.
No, we accept it.
Are we misinterpreting?
The people, we have to respect the views of the people in this country.
Yeah.
Because if we do say, on the one hand, that they voted the regime out for want of good governance, and the same people, if we at the next moment run down and say that they are for corruption, it is not correct. With great respect towards the will of the people and the wish of the people, I should say democracy is something where people, knowing very well that this is not going to change the government, they have expressed their position for the government to correct the direction and the correct course. This is a course correction exercise. When a ship is drifting, it has to be put on the course correction course.
I 100% agree with the people's verdict. I say the entire protest has gone against this government because of bad governance. They cannot govern this country. They do not permit Maithripala Sirisena, the president of this country, run this country the way that he wants. There have been various amendments, 19th amendment, this amendment, that amendment, and they have become a virtual prisoner. So, and the people expected Maithripala, they asked him the question, why can't Maithripala do this?
Okay, I want to read this thing, because this thing is a message that we want to put out here. For the first time, a sitting government, the UNP, managed to get totally routed by a party that is just a year old.
Right.
The UNP controls all the major ministries, as I said: finance, foreign affairs, internal affairs, trade, police, everything. The SLFP, despite being split in two, has performed rather well and is now emerging and has emerged as a clean new party. And this is very important, this split, because this was caused, encouraged and engineered by Ranil Wickremesinghe, who supported it, and by not acting, he supported it by not acting on the investigations against the Rajapaksas. They were all delayed or whatever it is. This is a fact, it's, you know, it's an open secret. The people have not discerned between the president and the government, the president and the UNP, and the people have overwhelmingly voted against the government, right? The stock UNP voters, those people who are sort of green, have protested by staying at home. And look at all those who connected the people involved in the bond. All those people have lost, and they've lost admirably so, because the people sent them a message. You know, I can say all the names, Akila Viraj and so on and so forth, Sujivasena Singha, all of these people, the names, and remember the Footnote Club. Yeah. So all of them have lost, and they've lost remarkably, right? And they just sat there. Kabir Hashim, part of the morning, the breakfast meeting, right? Colombo, which should have been a cakewalk, is instead a kind of a four-way battle, but Rosie being Rosie, she's done the deed there, okay? But on the bright side, we have people like Sajid Premadasa and Navin Dissanayake, who've done who've done a pretty good job. But strangely, but also true, Ravi K has won all the 9 things under him. Yeah. And what does that say? So overall, it looks, and it does, the SLPP have won a remarkable, 225?
Yeah.
So they've done well. But the bottom line is that the people, like Mr. Rusapal said, have made it absolutely clear to the President that his choice of partnering a UNP led by Ranil Wickremesinghe,
not the UNP,
is his choice of Prime Minister is rather suspect, and they don't like it. Yeah. I'll give you 10 seconds to finish.
81% voted in the presidential election. It has reduced to 76% this time approximately, which also is an indicator that there were a lot of people who didn't come to vote. And those who came clearly gave a message.
On that note, thank you very much, Control Room, for letting me wrap it on a bit. So that's the way it was on Monday, February the 12th, 2018. Do remember, Arjuna Mahendran is supposed to be back in this country by the 15th of February. Otherwise, there'll be all penalties to pay. On that note, that's the way it was on Newsline. Take care and God bless.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.